politicians say, okay, it's the youth that go partying, and we have to make a curfew because then the young people don't go out anymore, and then we don't have a problem with corona anymore. And then on the other hand, we have politicians and the same people saying, okay, the young people are actually the ones that suffer the most, and we have to reopen schools and the education system so that people can meet each other again. And I think it's a very funny, but not in a good funny way, more in like a very tragic funny way, to see how like you have the two opposites that are represented at the same time by the same people, and they just don't come up with a concrete solution that kind of tackles both the young people's need to meet other people and also not having infections going on. And yeah, again, it's just a very tragic coincidence, and I'm not sure how we as young people are supposed to contribute to the policy process, because I mean, we can't directly force them to do something about it.
I like agree with that. And I think for all the talk about involving young people in policy, there's still a lot of gatekeeping around access to politics, especially on a local level. I think it's very hard actually to form a group. And even when you do, like we have the ISSU here, and they have to really fight to get their voices heard. And then it's a bit jarring then on the WHO and on a European level, they are saying that they want to hear voices. So it's like there's a disconnect between local politics and the EU as a whole, which is just a bit like frustrating. I don't know.
I don't think I've heard as much conspiracy theories as much as I've heard from the older generation representatives, and I usually believe that that's caused due to lack of education and knowledge. If you are mostly sitting at home and you don't interact with the world as it goes on, you don't really have that touch with the reigning issues, and you don't have that concern to get to know what's about those issues and how can you help them and support them. And when a representative of a younger generation who is very much within the hotspot of the problems that we're facing approaches you and starts debating and talking, you kind of feel ignorant and sort of don't really even wish to comply with their arguments and do proper research and educate yourself on how can any member of older generation help the young people and generally the whole world within this pandemic. So I believe education and trusted sources of education are required for everyone to be on the same page, and also keeping an open mind to hear other people's thoughts because they might have more information because I don't know, their friend's a doctor or they're working in a hospital. Like many sources of information might have some exclusive bits and pieces of things that could definitely give more insight and give you further knowledge into a certain topic.
I can also feel what Ruby mentioned on like a more personal level. Sometimes when I say to my family like I would, or when my sister said that she would like to start watching local news because she feels like she basically doesn't know anything about the world, then especially my father was really shocked, like why would you do it? You are a child. Or he didn't say it like in this harsh way, but yeah, it was basically how I interpret it. But then at the same time, they look at me like I'm stupid when I don't know anything, for example, about finances or just such, and I'm just sitting here like nobody taught me like help. So yeah, I agree that there is a giant imbalance that needs to be fixed.
That is a very good approach to want to learn more, especially from a young age. And I always found it to be a bit problematic when people shame each other for having a lack of knowledge in certain spheres, generally speaking. If the main thing I believe is to have passion and motivation to learn more and educate yourself in a certain sphere. And that's the important bit. If you don't know something, you can learn it. Internet is a limitless source of knowledge and information. So as long as someone wants to do something, that's what matters and counts.
Okay, so someone might have mentioned this a minute ago. I was just focusing on something else, but another thing that I find quite annoying, not to be negative, is that like there are a lot of talks being like we need to include the younger generation in our talking. We need to bring youth on board on the panels to get their perspectives. We need to not forget about them. And yeah, oh, excuse me. Yes, this is great, but like in my opinion, anyways, like I find that they don't actually take on the input of the younger generations. Like they sit there, they listen to them talk and stuff, but that's all they do. Like they don't actually bring forward their ideas or like develop their thoughts or ideas or suggestions more. It's almost like a bit of performatism.
I mean, just look at the white paper done by EYP last year. I have just started to read a bit. I mean, it's just an impressive amount of work done and an impressive amount of knowledge from the youth generation that is put into this paper. And I feel like if politicians would take like actually more care about it, not saying, okay, as Tara, as you just said, they speak to us, but then just go, okay, yeah, I've noticed it, I'm doing something else anyway. I think that this would be a great opportunity, not only for like us to be more involved, but also for politics to be actually better as they tackle than more problems that are not only associated with like the electorate of the group or even the young electorate of the politicians.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I felt also very patronized many times by how like what the narrative is, and sometimes I think with like young people, it's always like let's listen to young people, but at the same time, there's this feeling that they know better in a way, and I completely agree with this gatekeeping. And maybe to bring it back to the ideals feel about like how you should be reached, or where would you like to get the information, how can we also make people accountable to including us? And I mean, I'm including myself. I know I'm not that young, but I'm 25. But
No, yes, you're part of
how
our
can we
generation.
also empower but yeah, like I also wonder sometimes how we can this burden being on us fans, because it also pisses me off when people say young people need to take control, but they're grasp at. So I think, yeah, how can also systems like EYP also give you information, or empower you also to make yourselves heard? I don't know if this is something that you talked about in your group. If not, you can, yeah.
Yes, as well, like there's so many resources that the parliaments could take advantage of. One being EYP. Like we do, in my opinion anyways, quite good work here, and we like do quite in-depth work on our topic pieces. And like, I mean, the actual European Parliament could benefit so much by gathering our resolutions, reading through them, and running with some of our ideas, because like, I mean, we've done half the work for them if they take our resolutions,
Yeah, I agree. I think I was thinking about this the other day, because next month it's 10 years of me when I started in school. And then I think if someone could gather all the time and all the resolutions that we wrote, it's just time and just, yeah, invested that I have a master's degree is probably a similar investment. So yeah, I think I also wonder sometimes how we can, I mean, the think tank was I think a step, and it's also a bit of a trial there. We enjoyed it. And I think maybe that is something that we can also try to do more of, if that is a format that is interesting to you guys as well. More research intensive things. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's being said, but I feel like it's not, I feel like it's not only a youth problem, which is even more problematic, because as they were saying, like even now there's mistrust in science. So scientists have been talking, even if we just take the example of like, I know, climate change and all the work that has been done around it. Scientists have been doing work and have been passionate and motivated about it and submitting those ideas to the politicians, and they just don't necessarily take them into account. And it's just, I don't, like, it's so hard to, I don't know, it's just how to represent all people that, like, I wish there was just a way to put all like the groups of people together who work on very specific topics, and who are actually in them, like concretely, in, for example, for work policies, like how do you want to make policies for people who, like, for example, during the pandemic, my dad's working, how do you say in English, non-academic work, basically. I forgot the word, but more like, working class kind of. And for example, during the pandemic, when all bars and restaurants were closed, my dad didn't have a place to go eat, or wash his hands or something. And those are things that are not really taken into account, like those little things of daily lives that can be used to help policies. I've probably blabbered a lot, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very aspirational and a long process. Maybe to move it to something else in the groups. I'm curious. Now I think this is also a shift that we're trying, or in general, people try to involve the groups that are most affected by the policies that are made. And I think we had a chat about, for example, like mental health, and how many times policies surrounding mental health are not actually informed by the people who suffer, but they are just made by either practitioners or academics. And I'm wondering if this is something that maybe other groups also talked about, or maybe the mental health group, or this representation, I think, is a big issue right now, and maybe you have also personal experiences with it that you'd like to share. Was anyone in the mental health group? Oh, hi, Candice.
Yes, I was, but I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
Oh, nothing. It was just a reflection. I don't want to moderate this very much, but I was thinking about representation, as Sophia said, and how we can ensure that people who are affected by things are also the ones informing the policies. And I think it made me think about mental health, and how there's been a little bit of a shift there to also include, like families of people who have mental health problems, or people with mental health problems, and not just practitioners or academics in making these policies and protocols. And I don't know if that is something that maybe your group talked about, or maybe there is, in this representation also for young people, I think completely ignored.
I think we talked a bit more about like the opposite, like isolation in in the sense that people don't really make the first move to go to therapy or something like that, or that they don't figure out that they actually need it because it is still seen or perceived as something a bit too extreme. And that's especially during the pandemic, but also before, there was that kind of bubble in social media that kind of created itself, and that a lot of people are just coping with their mental health problems through social media and humor and stuff like that. Which is something that doesn't quite, I mean, it helps to a certain extent, but it doesn't fix the issue. So we didn't touch upon the, I don't know, making the first move to go talk to someone about policy and how it works and everything, but rather the isolation part. But I mean, that to me, that is incredibly interesting. It's just that it takes so much effort, so much strength to already assume that you have an issue, to go treat it and everything. So let alone thinking that you are enough to give advice to, I don't know, a policymaker, or to talk about it and to kind of develop ideas about it. I find it very, very difficult for people with mental illnesses and mental health issues to kind of rationalize what is happening to them and say, oh, if I had known this before, or if I had had that kind of support, it would have been better. Here's my take on that.
I agree. I think there's like also a part of it is the division between mental health and mental illness. And often we think that if you're having mental health problems, it means you have a mental illness, when in reality, treating mental health can, be it's quite different, and we have this extreme in our head where, oh, I'm going to need to go on medication, or and that's why I think it stops people from getting help for their mental health, because they don't want to be ostracized as having a mental illness. And maybe if there was more of a focus on, or just more of a distinction between general mental health and mental illness, because people saying, oh, go for a walk, drink some water for your mental health is all valid, but then people who have mental illnesses go, that's bullshit, so if there was more of a people be more mindful of that, and make both less scary.
I think it was Julia in the group saying that we shouldn't wait until the situation gets worse, or that we are convinced that we have a mental illness before going to therapy, and that I don't know, even some small behaviors or something like that are not directly a mental illness with a name can also be treated in therapy. I don't know, like for example, anxiety and stuff like that. There are so many mechanisms that you and your therapist can develop to just cope better with anxiety, which is something that pretty much everyone has, but to a different extent. And so it kind of the stigma of you're going to a therapist for a very extreme thing is broken. Maybe more people would go, even people with actual mental illnesses. I know that I prevented myself to go to a therapist to find out that I actually have mental illnesses, but I was so scared of that diagnosis that I never went until this year. So I think it is very, very important, like what you're saying. It was what Julia was saying in the group, but I'm not sure that she's here.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, we were talking about that, and we talked about that extensively. So yeah, but I think you summed it up pretty well. So I'm gonna leave you to it.
Yeah, so I saw something like, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that really just like changed my whole, well, not changed it, but really normalized the idea of like taking care of your mental health for me. And it was something like, if you have a stomach ache, you go to the doctor. If your finger is sore, you go to the doctor. So just because it's not a physical thing, but if your brain is feeling off, go to the doctor.
I think it's, again, a bit, about the perspective. I think especially older generations don't have this perspective at mental illnesses, mental health problems being like real physical problems. I think, I mean, it's not to blame the older generation. I mean, they were raised in this kind of environment that you didn't like speak up if you had something. But I think to change this is a very fundamental issue. And I personally, I'm not sure about, okay, where should you start? Like, what can be changed in the society and in the environment and education, maybe also to don't get this kind of mental health problems are something you should not talk about. Like, it's a taboo topic. You're a psych. You're not a member of society. You're not a proper person or so. Because in many cases, I mean, if you go into the mental illness direction a bit more than just mental health problem, it's just another thing where your body is not working as it's supposed to be, like a broken leg. And I mean, if you have a very bad car accident, you still go, hopefully, to the hospital and get treated for it. And we should have the same kind of perspective of mental illnesses, mental health problems, and all this related to such topics.
I would say that this is slowly becoming more and more spoken about, not just because of social media, but also I have been seeing multiple video essays. I especially like one. It was like a 55-minute long video about breaking down the psychological state of a cartoon character from a well-loved show. And then I found out that there are multiple of these videos, like people that are either specialized in mental health or have some kind of mental illness or mental health issue themselves. They are taking these cartoon characters and checking how they behave, and they often find out that there is already a good variety of representation, which I find mind-blowing, especially when it's like a show from early 2000s. It's nice to see.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a question of like realizing what is out there as well and kind of talking about it, as we were saying. And I think, yeah, definitely some series or shows out there also raising it. But I think maybe in the past it was also way more subtle, or it was more stigmatized. So people didn't want to put it out there, you know, outright, but it was still, you know, people who had that reality could also relate. And I think in general, my background is in neuroscience. I'm a neuroscientist by training. So I think for me, it's also really cool to see that mental health is getting out there, not just as a, you know, problem thing, but also people are realizing the intersections between mental health and physical health. And I think maybe the connection between someone who has chronic pain and then has mental health issues is very clear, but not the other way around, and how like mental health also has problems like, or can cause problems for your physical health. You know, like people who are really stressed then end up having like more cardiovascular problems. And that makes a lot of sense because your brain is not just, you know, in a vacuum. It's connected to everything else. So if you're, you know, anxious all the time, then, you know, your heart rate is up or your blood pressure is up. And I think those connections are now being way more understood. And it's mind-blowing to me that, you know, we are talking about this now when we're the generation like 15 to 25-year-old people, and in my degree it wasn't so present. So it's actually, you know, it's pretty cool that you are way more conscious about all this stuff than our parents would be. I mean, no chance. So yeah, that's really cool. And I'm sorry we ran also over time again. Sorry about that. If anyone wants to stay, I would love to continue chatting. I know that you have stuff to do. So if, yeah, anyone who needs to leave, please feel free. You're not forced to stay, but if you would like to stay here and have a chat, then let's carry on.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you later. for Sketch in the City.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Is anyone staying?
I'm actually quite tired because I didn't sleep very well again. So unfortunately, I will
sorry
go.
about that. Yeah, it's also been 2 hours. No worries.
Have a nice
Bye.
bye.
You too. Did any of you actually talk about mental health in school at all? Okay.
To some extent. Sorry. Yeah. We like had we had a little chat with our school psychologist on elementary school, but it wasn't really about they still didn't explain us if you have like any of these 5 common symptoms, then and it occurs like very. I can English, I'm sorry. But yeah, we didn't really got into the topic of mental health and mental health issues and how to deal with them. We more spoke about like self-confidence, which I guess is a great start, but I think it could be tackled a bit better, and we could have dig a little deeper.
Yeah, it's definitely not a part of the program. I would say it's just individual teachers who come up to you like once a month and you're like, are you okay? And especially, yeah, it was really emphasized with the pandemic. And yeah, I don't know if anyone like here is from the English kind of system, because I know there's a tremendous difference between how we're treated kind of by those who are in the French system and those like who are really English wise. Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends, but it's definitely not part of the programs. But it was emphasized by the pandemic, like now suddenly they care, which is a bit weird.
I think in Germany, it's actually not part of the school curricula at all. I mean, if anybody knows about the German system, correct me if I'm wrong, but actually I think I just went back in time and thought about every year, and I think we don't talk about it at all, like in not a class, which is actually very, very tragic, because I mean, in the school environment, so for example with my mates, I do talk about mental health issues quite a lot, actually, because some of my friends have like depression or so. So this is an opportunity in a way to talk about such things, but in the curriculum, in biology class, in religious studies or so, we don't talk about it, which is, yeah, again, not the thing, or not how it's supposed to be. But I had like extracurricular activities from my school. I don't know if that's a thing in other countries or even at other schools, but I I did like a course on being a conflict mediator or something in that way. And we have like it's called Konfliktlotsen at our school, and we get like we had like 1.5 years of training, I guess. And there we talked about mental health issues and how we as students can deal with them if somebody comes to us and talks about it. And I think this is actually some kind a great start to do it like with fellow students, to talk about how you can help each other. But I think it has to be implemented in our education system at every year. I mean, it's a very important issue that is not addressed effectively, or maybe even not at all, which is, again, not how it's supposed to be.
That's really awesome that you have that. I feel like talking about how to talk about things and how to react also when people like open up is very important. And I think that is something, for example, that I learned through EYP and not through life.
Yeah,
not through school. So that's really cool that you did that.
Yeah, I think it's actually I guess I was very lucky to have this because we had an old teacher that had so many incredible like memories and things she's achieved in her life in this mental health direction at school. And I think 2 years ago, the teacher who did it went in retirement. You don't say that this way, but and now we have a new teacher, and I think it's totally different now, because there we had actually talking not only about, okay, you do like this course and then you get a certificate and it's good for your CV, and then you sit in a room in every break and just wait for people to come up, which happens unfortunately not that often. But it was actually about, okay, how can you deal with other people that you might not know, but that you still want to help in a way, and how can you like read through the lines of what they're saying, whether it's just a conflict with a teacher or with a friend, or if it's something that has to be addressed professionally by a psychologist even. And we had a few cases where actually we could like recognize some kind of problem that a person is hiding in the conversation with us, and then get some proper help for the people. And I think that talking about how can, as you put it, talking about how you can talk to other people is a key element also in preventing mental health issues to arise at the very first.
I think, oh, can you hear me? Oh, okay. I think that this should be mandatory because, yeah, I also have multiple friends with mental health disorders and different types of issues, and they experience anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and I'm just here like, my guy, if in case this would happen, I would literally not know what to do. So like unless I have this like direct conversation with them about what should I do, like maybe who should I call, who always helps them calm down, etc. Then unless it is addressed this way, I wouldn't know what to do. I would just freeze.
But I don't have anything like specific to say about that, but I'm just building on it. Because like it was the same for a long time. I had friends with that issue and had no clue what to do until I got myself concerned with the problem of anxiety attacks just popping up, because why not? And it was mixed up with a lot of other symptoms, and I had no idea what I had. So the people around me just had to learn how to deal with when I was having an anxiety attack and stuff. And it took me like something like 4 years to go to an actual psychiatrist, so someone that gives you medicine for the stuff that is wrong in your brain. And he told me, okay, so you see, when you have a headache, you take an aspirin. Then if you get an anxiety attack, just take this pill. It's gonna be better. And now when I have an anxiety attack and I start feeling, I can feel it coming, because it has been 4 years with anxiety attacks. So I can feel when I'm feeling very anxious and stuff. I just take that pill and I don't get the attack. Or I get it, but it gets fixed quickly. And like, I feel so stupid that I never went to that doctor before, because the interaction with the psychiatrist went exactly like that. I went, I explained my problem. He gave me a pill, just like you go to a doctor saying, hi, I have been coughing for 10 days. And he says, okay, take that thingy. And I feel a bit stupid that I didn't do that earlier, but I was so scared that I just never went, kind of. So I don't know, maybe a good advice to give to your friends, like maybe it comes from something that exists, like I have the general anxiety disorder or whatever you translate that, which explains that I have a lot of anxiety attacks and there is a medicine for that, and that's it. I mean, it was as simple as this.
Thank you for sharing, Candice. Sorry, Alexander.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. One of my best friends actually has I think severe anxiety yeah, as well. And I don't know, because I haven't been with her when she has this anxiety kicks, but from what she tells me, it's not a very nice thing to have. And I'm not sure, because I always say, okay, you can phone me whenever you want, I'm here for you. And I also say, okay, you should probably go to a doctor, just as you did. And I would probably tell her next week when I see her again in school, about how great it helped you, because yeah, as you said, I think many people don't know about, okay, you get this pill and it might help. So yeah, thank you for sharing that kind of personal experience. I can't imagine like getting that personal to people you don't really know.
You're welcome. I'm fine.
You're in for a treat. I'm gonna share something too, but I think I can relate a little bit. I've had panic attacks in the past, and I think something that has really helped me, or that I really appreciate from friends, is when they follow up. I think, you know, many times in the moment or in the leading up to the moment, it's, you know, very easy to ask, you know, what do you need, or blah blah, which personally is very overwhelming, because I am focused on what is happening right now, and I don't need anyone else to overwhelm me with things. And this is very personal, so it may not be the case for anyone else. But personally, for me, it really helps me when my friends follow up at a calm time, and then maybe say, hey, I noticed that this happened, or what helps you when you're in this situation, so that then they know how to act. And I also kind of, you know, share my needs with friends. And I think I also appreciate when they do the same for other issues. Like, you know, sometimes we react to people sharing problems in a very like problem solving way, and sometimes people just need someone to listen, or, you know, a hug. And it's very, you know, especially for me, sometimes I have trouble reading people, or I don't know how to, you know, I feel like everyone will react in the same way or appreciate the things that I appreciate. And it's very nice when you also ask your friends in a very honest and compassionate way, like, what do you need? How can I help? So that the next time it happens, you know how to react. And it's kind of just being proactive and caring in, yeah, for your friends before something does happen.
Definitely, like the communication can solve so much. I remember that after I found out that my friend has had a panic attack, and she actually experiences them quite regularly, unfortunately. Then, like, once she settled down, like she, as you said, she's also very sensitive to sound and touch when she's like in the headspace. So yeah, once everything kind of once she could calm down and she could talk about it, we had like 2 hours dialogue about like what was happening to her, and she told us the things that help her out with dealing with the attack. And yeah, it helped so much. And although despite, as you say, she also told me that but this is just this is often an individual thing, like it doesn't apply to anyone, to everyone. It is still like nice to have that knowledge in case I experience it next to someone else. So like I have the general idea.
I think it's why, like, we were talking about it in the breakout rooms. I think it is why it is super important to get an actual diagnosis from someone whose job it is. It is not the therapist's job, it is the psychiatrist's job. And you need to understand what you have and why you are getting all these symptoms. Again, it's from my personal experience and from the people I know, but you might have different stuff that are like communicating together and it's just producing weird symptoms, but you need to know what to tell other people. Because you cannot just tell them, sometimes it is like this, but sometimes it is like that. And then I have no idea because, well, when I feel like this, sometimes this makes me feel better, but sometimes it makes me feel worse. Like, it doesn't help yourself to feel good and confident about yourself, but it doesn't help the people because they have just no clue what is going on and they cannot help at all. And just if you get a diagnosis, it means that you are the same with other people that have the same diagnosis. And there are, I don't know, a lot of stuff that has helped other people and that are going to help you as well, and that you can communicate. And I found that extremely helpful to find out what were my diagnoses, what were my illnesses, and to be able to communicate to people, I have this, and this is why sometimes I'm going to react like that. And in that kind of moment, I'm not rational, so I'm not going to be able to tell you how to help me. And it helps, like, to tell people you cannot help me at that moment. It just helps because they are not, like, just like you were saying, Isabel, they are not going to try to help you when you are anxious and you cannot do anything, and they are not going to be annoying. Or like Lucia, you were saying about your friend, they are not going to make some more noise when you are anxious because of the noise. I don't know, and you don't have to wait until you have like a big illness that is like super, super hard and super visible and everything to go to someone that can help you. Like, you don't have to have a big illness to just ask about it. You can also have smaller symptoms and it is fine, but you might have something also, and there might be stuff to help you with that. I don't know. Just praising the diagnosis a bit here. This is important. Go to doctors.
I agree. But I think it also kind of brings back a little bit of control to know where you stand in a way. But I think for me, it's really cool to see that I have friends who are older and also younger friends. And I think it's also it's really a generational thing to see how much like my younger friends really check in or like notice things also. Like, dude, Isa, like you've been very quiet lately. Like, what's going on? Is there anything in your head? You know, all this stuff. Whereas like older people may not like realize, and I think it's not really a sign that they don't care, even though sometimes like I'm like, gosh, shit, this person. But I think it's just really nice to be there and ask all these things and notice and observe without judgment. And I think, the fact that I want to say thanks also for sharing this space with me, and thanks for caring for your friends. I think is the most important, to just be there even if you don't know anything. Or don't know some things. I'm gonna have to go in like 2 minutes. But I'll stay those 2 minutes. But it's been very cool.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was really helpful to listen to all your testimonies and all the discussions. And it's true that it's something that you discuss with friends often, and it's really good to have like experiences from other people. So I hope it will get better for everyone who's struggling, and good luck everyone, and to all your friends. And Yeah.
See you.
Bye. I'm gonna go to.
See
I
you.
have to take a break from screen before the afternoon. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Then I guess we're all heading.
Enjoy your break.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Or work.
Have a very nice
I don't
day.
know.
Yeah, have a lovely day.
Yeah, thanks, Lucia. Thanks, Alexander. Bye, Candice.
Bye.
Yeah. I think we are also heading probably.
Yes, we're going to join the other call that is happening at the moment. Well,
Oh, here we go.
yes, they are actually 80 minutes in the session, so
Oh, okay.
well,
See you then.
see you there.